Hello, and welcome to my channel. Generally, there might be a couple mountain bike reviews put up, maybe a watch review, mostly knives though. Killing time, kind of on R&R right now. I am a wildland firefighter, and I got some days, couple days off. Oh yeah, so I figured I'd throw up another. I put one up here a couple days ago. This was going to be on the Spyderco Endura 4. So I don't know if it's really a review, a monologue. I think what I'm going to do is just simply talk to the function of this knife. These guys have been around a long time. I'm not sure how long the 4 has been around. I'm not sure how long they've had an adjustable pivot. I had one previously I bought used years ago. It was a fully serrated sheep's foot, and I think it was an Endura, same size. I don't know what the exact name on it was, but pin construction, had blade play in it. Still though a functional knife, but I will never get, unless it's like a, I shouldn't say never, but generally, if this knife came with pin construction, I would not buy it. I definitely like the adjustable pivot. And you can apparently take this apart, though I think I will not be doing that. I think I've seen a video or two saying it's a pain getting it back together. Fair enough. But at least you can tighten these down, I guess, like pin. If the whole thing got kind of loose, then you're kind of hosed more or less. But I have made sure that this pin that, or I guess it's this one that holds in the back lock there, and make sure it's tight, because I was getting a little flex in there. So anywho, so this knife I've been carrying a couple months on fires, work. Along with this, I always carry this. This is the, I don't know if it's necessarily the original, but it's the AFO 9050, not the AFO 2. I have a couple of those, but I had one of these previously I had for many years, and I ended up losing it. So last year I was able to track one down new online from a dealer in California, and they sent it up, and it was minty right out of box. Looked like it never even been opened before, so I was very excited, happy about that. But anyway, definitely always have this on me every day, and then at work as well. Just, that's kind of my thing. And then at work I also carry a buck 110. But this year, actually last year and this year, I decided, because I like knives, I have several. Not as many as some, but probably more than most, I suppose. Or I'm in the 50th percentile. I do own many knives, but I realize that many people have many knives. So anyway, so last year I carried a few others to test. I got a paramilitary 2 S30V, I believe that was, no, I have a Spyderco military S30V, but I hadn't really used it a lot. So that paramilitary 2 is the first one I've ever had, and I really like that knife. I ended up giving that to my brother though, because I figured he could use it more than me, because I have more than one knife. So I used that to kind of test it out in the field, and then this year I decided to bring this guy along, and I've had one of these for last 3 years. This one actually I got in March. I lost the other one this winter, so I replaced it with this. And then this, I took this with me this summer on fires. Pretty much every day I had it. And then they're about midway, I ended up picking up one of these too. I wanted another paramilitary too, but they didn't have any in stock where we're at a sporting goods store, so I went ahead and got this little guy. And I do prefer the PM2 over this, but I'm telling you what, I'm happy I have this, because I'll eventually get another PM2, and I'm glad that I went ahead and got this, because it's a tough little knife, and it's probably too, well, it's adequate, but like I like to get out there and, you know, cut down small trees and willows and such, and I do a lot of whittling whittling and carving, and that's kind of what I did with this. And along with pretty much everything else I was cutting fire, like fire hose that had been burned over that we had to pack out, lots of rope, lots of paracord, and mostly just wood though, and well, everything else, glass filament tape, etc. But kind of what my goal is every time I took it out is I wanted to turn this thing into a butter knife, and it never worked. So I went out for 2 weeks, 14 days on a fire, used it every day, was able to cut, on kind of like, you kind of have like little breaks or off time when you're out there in the field. You're not going all out all the time. So during lunch, whatnot, I'd pick up a stick and just start carving something out of it, or making spears, etc. I'm kidding, I wasn't really making spears, but I was just practicing. Made a couple bows. But this thing, so I had it after the first 2 weeks, and when I got home, I have a sharp maker, and I went ahead and resharpened it. I had to kind of do a hurried job because second day of R&R, we got a call that morning for the next day. So I was making sure all my stuff was ready to go for that next morning, and so that evening I was able to get on this, and I was able to put an edge back on it. But then for the next month and a half, it was a month and a half, this thing went, and when I got home for R&R the next time, I actually left. I went home because I'm actually on the road this summer, so I'm in a different town, different base, so I was able to go take care of a couple things, and so I wasn't able to sharpen this. So at that point I had another 2 weeks on it. Then I carried it for another month and a half, I think, using it, trying to turn it into a butter knife, using it a lot, just kind of going out of my way to use it. And yeah, it got little nicks in it, maybe rolls. It didn't really feel or look like rolls, but maybe just little nicks in the edge, kind of serrated. This thing is still cut, like I could still push cut like regular phone book paper, regular copy paper, and maybe phone book paper. But then you could really feel it dragging when you're cutting across, slicing the paper. So I'm not saying, I can't claim that the thing was flawless, but like I said, my goal was to turn it into a butter knife, and that VG10 held up. So I think through a full fire season, sure, at the end it'd be nicked up and stuff and needing it sharp, but it'd be working sharp all year. That's pretty impressive for their baseline steel from Spyderco. Now I know. Everything about this knife says that, well, it was refined over the years, but it's been thought out. The blade grind, I think, is really efficient. Some people prefer some grinds. I really like the flat ground because obviously it's really good on food, but at the same time it's really good on wood. Like, it's great for slicing. I mean, for like taking down small trees and willows and stuff, which we have to do because, like, if you're setting something up like if you got to set up a pump or something along a creek, you don't want to bust out the chainsaw to cut one little tree or one couple of willows. Sometimes you have a little handheld saw. Some people do that, but I was just using this, and I'm telling you, thing's a little workhorse. And I say little because it's lightweight, it's low profile, but I mean, that does have a 3 3/4 inch blade, which is like perfect, I think, really for a folder for the woods. 4 inches, well, 3.5 to 4 inches works. In fact, this little guy actually works too, but I'll notice that, like, I have extra large size hands. I do have skinny fingers, but and this does work. I do it will push me off the end if I could do that, but if I'm really torquing on stuff, I do like to go ahead and grab the main handle. It might be a tad small for that, though I never had any issues, but the big thing was the blade. It's nice to have a longer blade, so you're not just push cutting, like you're cutting a willow down or whatever, or a small tree, and it's nice to have a bigger handle and a bigger blade, actually. But I mean, the thing is the same construction. That's why the paramilitary 2, I think, is just right where the money's at. But this guy, for everything else, I think is more than adequate. It's just as tough, just as strong. I think it's the same blade grind. It's like just a beefy little guy, and same stock width or thickness. as the PM2 in the military, I think, but just a shorter blade. So, hey, that's a cool little knife. Back to this. So it's actually perfect. A little thinner, a little slicier, lighter weight, cheaper. Like compared to this, and I like this knife too. I've never taken it out. I've never taken it to work or anything. In fact, it's done a little hard cutting, just a little bit. But I kind of like it too much to take it out and kind of beat up on it, because it is a super nice knife. But getting up to $180 to $190 now. It's not what I paid for it because I bought it 3 years ago, I think for $170 something. But this is a $75 to $80 knife, you know. So, and this gets the job done. And if I would have lost it, or if it had broke or anything, I wouldn't have been heartbroken at all. Now that I've had it, like, you know, I would be a little bit more bummed, because like after you have something for a while, you kind of grow attached to it, I think, and you kind of know the mileage. I'd be more bummed, but still, I'd replace it, and probably replace it with a gray one. In fact, I kind of looking at that Spyderco stretch. I wish I could get the stretch in gray or a different color. You can get black, because I don't see ZDP 189 for me. I don't need that. That's another thing, is like I will cut cardboard, but I'm not going to be doing it day in, day out, all day long or anything. Like, that's just not it. Like wood, I think wood is not abrasive. Like, though I do cut a lot of, you know, dead wood or dirty wood, you know, I think it's more abrasive than green, and rough on the blade. But compared to cardboard, apparently cardboard is much more abrasive, and that's where those higher end steels come in. Like S30V theoretically is a higher end steel, though, and that kind of gets to my next thing, and that's just, these are just my observations for what I'm using the knife on and for how I use it. Like, this isn't scientific fact I'm trying to relay here. It's all opinion and experience. But I saw no different, or for what I'm using the knife for, this thing's pitted up too. I can't even cut phone book paper with it now, and it's got less use on it than that did before I sharpened it. And then, but I can't, even when that thing was dicked up, I think I could still slice phone book paper with it. This thing, no, I can try right now and it will not, and it has less miles on it than this. That could be, I don't think that this one out of box was actually as sharp as the PM2 was, or my military was. And I have not sharpened this one yet, so that could be a little bit of it, because I know initially it was not as sharp. However, it is just as chipped up or nicked up as that one got, and this had less use on it. So I'm not saying it's worse. I should say it's as nicked up as this was getting. Okay, so maybe it would hold that remaining edge longer than this one would. I can't say as of right now, because these weren't like equal. All I know is I can definitely say this had more cutting on it than this, and there were, if anything, this ended up being more nicked up than that. It started less sharp because I had used this previously to the fire season. This winter I was kind of going out and carving on some stuff, but or this spring, and I had sharpened it, so it was sharper initially. And that could be some of it too, and I have no doubts on Spyderco knives coming out of the factory with the correct bevels and stuff. I know sometimes they're a little offset, like they're not equal. Like, you can see the grind lines, like one side's a little bit more than the other. I think pretty much every Spyderco knife I've had has been like that. I think this one might have been the most equal, just not as sharp. So there's that. However, I think this is a tough little knife. Again, my only gripe with it, and it's not a gripe because just listen to this, it's funny, but the way they've done these finger grooves, it would make me get up here, and this is fine, I can cut like this, okay, but sometimes I might want to come back and like right here and cut. That seems natural to me. Unfortunately, what that does is it runs into my middle finger, that point there, and it just seems it's kind of awkward. Okay, now I don't even notice that though. Like right now, like if I was out cutting, I wouldn't really even notice that. And that's another thing I like about this knife though, is that it is thin this way, but I did some extensive cutting with it and I never got fatigued or sore or any hot spots or anything. So there's that. So this actually is not a problem. It just seems kind of funny when I'm kind of looking at it. Now you get back in here like this, the middle finger goes in there, forefinger gets this whole groove, and then your other two fingers fall back there. It's actually perfect, but this is not how I cut. Like if I'm carving on something, I don't use my thumb up there like that. For food, I think that'd be fine, I guess, you know. And I can hold it back here for yarding on stuff, like stripping down a willow or a tree or something, limbing up a tree. That works. So it's kind of interesting because, like the stretch, you'll see the stretch, which I wish the stretch came in a blade that long. It's close. The stretch is just one hump, such as that, such as this, and that. So I mean, that's my preference, big time. I mean, this thing is just a perfect fit for me. And actually, this is like, you could have huge hands and be okay in that. Actually, that's perfect for me too. They fall right into, like my pinky does rub where it starts to go up there, I guess, when I grab like that. So does my forefinger, my pointer. But then you get that choil, and I suppose you could choke up like that too. I would like to get one of these. For some reason, I just don't want to take this out in the field. I think I might want to get like an all black one, blacked out one, but I'd take it to the field. And don't ask me why that over this. I don't know. Just for some reason, I've never wanted to use this for anything abusive, or because, you know, you're on a fire, it's dirty, your hands are dirty, just everything just gets beat up. But that's another cool thing about this, is the only wear that it seems to show on this is the clip. So I suppose you can get a polished clip, or I could sand this one down. It's a great clip though, definitely does the job. What else can I say? One other thing is I like to keep the pivot kind of loose, so I can do that, you know, so after you open it up you can just flick it down and shut it. I can tighten it, and the only problem with that is I don't get any side to side or even side to side flex, because I have it tight enough to reduce the flex out of it, and definitely no play. But when you are cutting kind of hard on something, pushing down, you know, positive force, I will notice not play but flex in this back spring. The whole mechanism back here kind of like flexes up. I can feel that, you know, I can feel it through the plastic and the metal there. Like I can feel them moving. I don't like that, but you know, I don't think the knife is going to break or fatigue or anything. It's just, it almost like feels like it's built in the system to avoid stuff like that, but I still don't like it. So I can actually tighten the pivot down and still be able to operate it, flick it out. But closing it, you kind of have to give it more of a more energy to get the thing to shut like that. So now she's been home. She got sharpened up and then oiled. I use 3-in-1 because it's just in the pivot, and I don't mind the smell, and I don't think that you know, yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say, but I just got a text message. But that it's because I am using my phone, and that nice. But yeah, it's good. It's all ready to go. Yeah, so I'm not worried about getting on food because it's around the pivot, and I've wiped it off. And I could even wrench the blade and wipe it off again if I was gonna use it for that. And that 3-in-1 oil seems to last a long time. Like even when you rinse the knife out or rinse the knife off, it's still, you still smell the oil in there. It's still nice and smooth. So plus it's cheap. Like that bottle of 3-in-1 oil I just bought probably last a long time. So highly recommended. I guess one of the other kind of options people look at are common comparisons, or these are two completely different knives in my opinion. I like them both. I don't take this one to work for some reason, but I carry it a lot and I use it a lot. I always have like on the tailgate of my truck or in the cab of my truck or kind of around me, you know, because it's like they kind of go to. I mean, it's just, I carried it so long that it's just like second nature to have. But I don't think it's as good on wood as this grind. Well, actually, I'm sure you could do something to it to change that, but I got it razor sharp as well. Um, and I do have the serrations because it is a work knife. You know, I'll cut rope and paracord and whatnot. I usually even though I don't even use it at work, but it's still a utilitarian tool. But stuff that I plan on using it, you know, on wood, for the most part, I like to get a plain edge, and then like these autos, I always prefer to get serrated too, because you know it's like quick out of pocket. Got to cut some rope, whatever. You know, who knows? Maybe this is dulled up in the meantime. That serration just goes right through rope, paracord, whatever you got to cut, without fooling around. So that's kind of what I got serrated on this. I might eventually get another one non-serrated and kind of use it the same way. I do have another one that's a brand new D2 blade that I sent back in a Benchmade, black. So I would like to get like an aftermarket red scales for that, and then I will carry it. But this one, it's kind of been a faithful friend, so I'm not going to take it out to the field and beat up on it. As far as prying goes, hard use, I was using this to break limbs off of branches and stuff that I was carving on. You know, I just stick the branch there and pop it. Nothing too much, but I felt like I was putting a lot of force on it, and it didn't seem to affect the pivot at all. I just think that this is a nice design. And if you want a good slicing, good outdoors backpacking, or throw in your Camelback mountain biking knife or anything, you know, that you'd never notice the weight because it's under 3.5 ounces, and it's definitely adequate size. Like this would be a good hunting knife, good fishing knife. Hell, for 75 bucks. Some people compare it against the Rat 1. I don't think they're comparable. I do like the Rat 1. I can't speak for the D2 steel. I know that this VG10 for me outperforms the OS 8 on a Rat 1. Though I do like the Rat 1's blade grind. It is a bigger, thicker, heavier knife, and the blade is not as long. I just think it's more efficient. And like from that, the only weakness that I would see initially would be just the thinness of the handle here. But like I said, I don't notice at all. You know, if you're using a pocket knife for that kind of work and not a fixed blade, I'm sure eventually you would develop some hot spots or it'd be uncomfortable, but I was trying as hard as I could to find any kind of weaknesses in the blade or the handle, and I couldn't find it. So, all right, I've probably rambled enough. If anybody has any questions or even watches this, yeah, ask away, I guess. I mean, you can pretty much find out anything you want on this online. There's lots of info, but this is a testimonial, I guess, is what it turned out to be. And I'm a Benchmade guy, big time. I mean, they've always treated me right. I just think some of these models, some of these classic models like this in the military, and I don't know if people consider the PM2 a classic, but the PM2 and the Para 3 here, I think are great knives. I don't, just looking through, if I were to look through the catalog of Spyderco, most of that stuff doesn't catch my eye, but kind of like the straightforward stuff like these, man. And I got some Benchmades I'll do reviews on too that I have on hand. But like I said, I'm away from home. I don't have all my knives, but I got enough. All right, well, have a good day. Thank you.